back to Millennial Vinyl. Peter, thanks for tuning in again. A little bit of an impromptu episode. I was lucky enough to attend the last Kiss concert at Madison Square Garden in New York City last night. And I thought, hey, since I have a a rock and roll retrospective channel here on YouTube, why not offer a review, share my thoughts, show some photos, a couple of videos that I took from the show. Overall, there's a lot of feelings at being a massive Kiss fan, right? There's bittersweet feelings of, seemingly this is the end. I don't think they're going to tour again. But there's also joy at the fact that, well, A, I was lucky enough to attend. B, I've been lucky enough to see them. This was my fifth time seeing them. A lot of people I know, a lot of people I talked to last night, dozens and dozens, some even hundreds of times seeing this band, and that's really cool. And I also felt proud and a little honored to be able to be with them at the end. And for somebody who's as big of a fan of the band as I am, to share that moment with them and send them off, congratulate them on a tremendous career and for all the joy they've brought me and the laughs and the hilarity and frustration sometimes too, as any 36-year relationship will bring. All in all, it was a neat event to attend. I had an opportunity to go to the last Rush show in Los Angeles in 2015, and I, for whatever reason, decided not to. I assumed that they were going to come back. I assumed that there was more left in the tank, and I should have known better. I should have known my favorite band better than I did. So when I heard about the details of this show on the Howard Stern radio show on Sirius a year and a half ago, however long ago it was that they announced that this would be it, I circled it on my calendar and I said, I'm not going to miss this one. I'm going to go. I'm definitely going to be a part of this because it means that much to me. I'd also like to shout out, literally Shout It Out Loud podcast, Shout It Out Loudcast podcast. Tom and Zeus, who run that show. It's a Kiss-centric podcast, but they do delve into other areas. It's a little, for those of you who don't know it, it's, there's a humorous slant to what they do. It's a little, I'm not going to say juvenile because that's going to sound like it's like a criticism. It's not. It's a little bit, it's not as intense of a Kiss discussion as you'll find other places. And they did a little bit of a meet and greet before the show, and I'm going to flash up a photo of me with the two of them. And, they were really great guys, and they sent me this t-shirt a while back, and I just wanted to, pay homage to not only to the band, but to the community that the band has created. And that's the really cool thing about Kiss and other legacy bands, but especially Kiss, is that their tentacles sort of go out into other parts of society and into the music community in a way that not a lot of other bands can say. The attachment that not only myself, but the people I met last night feel to the band is visceral and intense and purposeful. And, we are attached not only to the band, but to each other as a result of the band's great work. And it's another bittersweet reality that the opportunities for these kinds of get-togethers and this sort of coming together and celebrating music and Kiss is over, ostensibly, at least in the iteration that we know and enjoy. So, formulating my thoughts about my feelings, it's Yeah, bittersweet's the best word to describe it. In terms of the show itself, there, if you've seen Kiss before, you saw the show that they put on last night. There was, I think, a little bit, maybe a little bit of a false expectation that the band was going to offer something outside of what they normally do in terms of set list or stage presentation or who would be there other than the four current members of the band. As the build up in anticipation to the start of the show was happening, the energy level was incredibly intense. You could feel it. The tension within the crowd was palpable, and it was exciting. And slowly but surely, that excitement, there was another feeling that I had never felt at a concert before that was kind of like cascading over the audience slowly, as I think the realization started to hit all of us as it was happening, like, that's the last time we're going to hear Detroit Rock City. That's the last time we're going to hear God of Thunder. That's the last time we're going to hear Love Gun. That's the last time we're going to hear Rock and Roll Over, and then the show's over. And then for a certain segment of the audience, probably for a large segment of the audience, there was that like sort of diminishing faint hope in the back of all of our minds that at least Peter and Ace were going to come out and take a bow and have an opportunity for us to acknowledge them also. But it makes sense that because Gene and Paul have decided that Kiss is an entity that doesn't necessarily require any particular person. It just is. It's the songs and the characters and the show. And I think, especially with what they sort of teased at the end, I think that their model and their mentality going forward is going to be that, like, Kiss is not reliant upon any one or two or four people. It's an entity in and of itself. Now, I don't agree with that personally. I think the who of it all is just important as the what of it all. And I think a mistake that the Kiss Brain Trust is making is being too reliant on the iconography and the music itself to kind of carry on. Now, if you want to enjoy the music, there's all these awesome recordings, live recordings, studio recordings, singles. Like, I mean, the music will live forever, and that's fantastic. But the part of it that no matter what happens now, if it's not Gene and Paul, at least, if it's an animation, if it's 4 new musicians, it is a tribute band. It is, unless they make new music under the name Kiss, which is possible, and that's something that could be interesting, perhaps. But it's a off-Broadway production of a previously, Broadway musical, and I don't know how well that's going to translate, because when you think of the times you've seen Kiss, especially in the last 25 years, it's huge arenas, it's big stadiums, there's a spectacle with not only within the show itself, but within the confines of the arena that is hosting the show. If you scale that down, not only in terms of personnel, but in terms of size and bombast and the accoutrements that go with making that spectacle, I think you're going to get diminishing returns, and those diminishing returns are going to pile up quickly. So whatever their plans are, I'm going to keep an open mind, but transitioning from Kiss as we know them now into something else is going to take a lot of innovation, and however great I or you or any of the fellow fans of the band might think that the show and the music are, what the band has unfortunately demonstrated, especially in the last 10 or 15 years, is a real lack of innovation. They found a formula that works, especially for people who are seeing the band for the first time, which I would imagine over the last, like again, the same time frame, 10 or 15 years, as they're being introduced to a younger audience, as their lifelong fans have had kids and even grandkids in some instances. I heard Gene talk about this leading up to the last show. It's like there's multi-generations of families going to see this band, and that's really cool. I mean, I started that way. My uncle and my aunts took me to my first Kiss concert, and then I went with my dad. And then the last couple of times, this last night I went by myself because I kind of did it impromptu. I had it circled and I knew I was going to go, but like I didn't pull the trigger until a couple days ago on a ticket, and couldn't get my girlfriend to come with me. I couldn't get anybody else to kind of commit on short notice. So I had to actually go to a concert by myself, which is the first time I've ever done that. But I didn't feel alone. Again, I was lucky enough to meet the Shout It Out Loud cast guys. I was lucky to meet some other people in my section, which we'll talk about a little bit more later because there was almost a fight in the most hilarious way ever. And while I was by myself, I was not alone. And that is a testament to how great of a band Kiss is, how wonderful their music is, how important they are, not only to me, but to all of the people that were there and to millions of people around the world. Like, there was at least for me, I was thinking on those terms attending the show. Now, the show itself was, like I said earlier, a run-of-the-mill Kiss show. It just happened to be the last one. But a run-of-the-mill Kiss show is still pretty fantastic for all the things I talked about earlier. The spectacle of it, the theatricality that goes into it, the effects and the bombs and the explosions and the light show, and they hit all the beats that you want. Gene spitting fire, Gene spitting blood, Paul shooting out into the middle of the audience to the auxiliary stage to do Love Gun and I Was Made for Loving You. Tommy shot rockets out of his guitar. Eric elevated from the stage and sang Beth, playing the piano. A beautiful rendition too. And it was a little disappointing that some people around me were booing him. The guy, what do you want from the guy? He's got a good gig. He shows up every night. He plays music, and you paid tickets to go see Eric Singer. I know, like I talked about earlier, like there was this like notion or idea that perhaps we would get a chance to say goodbye to Ace and Peter. It didn't happen. When you bought your ticket, you should have known Gene, Paul, Tommy, and Eric are playing Kiss songs. Like, as a consumer, there's nothing on the ticket that says the reunification of Kiss or the sending off of every member. Like, it's okay to hope for that. But to start, and I'll tell the story now. There was a guy behind me. He was, probably 10 or 15 years older than me. Taller guy, bigger guy. Starts booing and cursing Eric Singer during his rendition of Beth. Some other people kind of tag on to this. Then he starts flipping double birds at him. And like there's like this grumble coming out of our section, and I'm like, I'm cringing and borderline embarrassed. Like what are you doing, man? Like it's not Eric Singer's fault that Peter Criss let his career fall to ruin in the time between when he left Kiss initially and when he reunited with them. He did not keep himself equipped to play, according to the accounts that I've read. Now, I'm sure Peter might have a different account of why he wasn't there, but, at the very least with Ace, and I'm kind of going all over the place here, but for fans of the band, like, this will present as a coherent thought. At least with Ace, yes, he fell back into some old bad habits when the success of the reunion tour started to take hold, and he had access to maybe resources that he didn't have previous to that. Addiction is a disease, and it's one that a lot of people struggle with. I'm not going to say, Ace Frehley, shame on you for falling back into the throes of substance abuse while you had the money, the time, and the resources to allow temptation to creep back into your life. What I will say though is in the time since he's left, he has not done enough to keep the bridge between Kiss and himself open. And it reached the point where, as a fan, I was hoping that Gene and Paul would do the honorable thing and do the older brother thing and forgive all of the sins of Ace and Peter and have them back. But how many times do they have to do this? How many times do they have to forgive and forget and get burned and forgive and forget and get burned? Enough's enough. At the end of the day, if those guys wanted to be there, they would not have allowed the situation to devolve to the point that it did. Now, do I think they got a little bit of a raw deal when the reunion happened 25, almost 30 years ago? A little bit. Yeah, I do. Because the reunion did big business, and that would not have happened if Ace and Peter didn't come back. That being said, they signed the contracts. They had their business managers look at it. They made the deal. They could have continued riding that wave for at least another 10 or 12 years if they had kept themselves in shape, if they had kept themselves on it. They didn't. And as a fan, it's very easy to look at it in a linear way and say, well, shame on Gene and Paul for not sucking it up or letting bygones be bygones. But if in any relationship, if somebody keeps hurting you and hurting you and hurting you and hurting you, eventually you have to put a stop to it. You have to stand up for yourself. And the situation that they're in, either party. But I understand everybody's point of view. And in a weird way, while I am disappointed that I didn't get to say bravo Peter and bravo Ace to them last night, as I got to say bravo Tommy and bravo Eric and bravo Gene and bravo Paul, if it mattered to them as much as it matters to me, as much as it matters to Gene, as much as it matters to Paul, then they wouldn't have let the situation metastasize and ultimately fail like it did. The show, in terms of the music, like I said, run-of-the-mill, same set list that I saw when I saw them in Connecticut in May of 2022, save one song. They swapped Making Love for something else. I'm not sure what was replaced and what Making Love filled in for, but it was cool because Rock and Roll Over is my favorite Kiss album, and I got an opportunity to see that song. I don't think I'd ever heard them play that live before, and it was pretty faithful to the version here on Alive 2. I thought the band sounded really good. It was loud. The musicianship was really on point. They played with a fire and a passion that I don't think... I think that maybe we take for granted as fans because they do put on such a good show. And I was a little concerned that maybe the nerves would get to them a little bit, but they're professionals and they did their job really well last night. They gave me my money's worth, and they gave me a memory that I'll have forever, along with tons of other memories that I will have forever. They're inextricably tied to who I am as a music fan, and getting the opportunity to say goodbye to them last night and to thank them and then to come here and talk about it, is awesome. They also gave us these cool bracelets. This portion here kind of lit up on cue with the stage show, which was really neat. And I also got this package when I was walking out, and I have no idea what this is, so I'm gonna open it up and look at it. It comes in this really neat box. Got a nice little gloss to it. I don't know how well that's showing up on camera. If I have to do this again and put a video over it, I will. Oh, neat. Super neat. Look at this thing. Certificate of authenticity. This certificate guarantees that this 24-karat gold-plated ticket is a limited production collectible and only created for fans attending one of the final 2 shows at Madison Square Garden, New York, USA. And then it gives me a number to authenticate it. And it really is. It's a gold-plated ticket stub with the QR code for the animation gimmick that they threw up at the end of the concert, which I will run some footage of also. I'm overwhelmed, actually, to have this, because with the electronic ticketing now, having a keepsake like a ticket stub is a novel concept that, like, we don't get to have or enjoy anymore. So, I'm thrilled. This is so cool. So from the bottom of my heart, I just like to thank every member of KISS, and everybody associated with them, from Gene, Paul, Ace, Peter, Eric Carr, Vinnie Vincent, Mark St. John, Bruce Kulick, Eric Singer, and Tommy Thayer, through to Bill O'Coin and Glickman and Marks and all the other and Doc McGee and all the other people that manage them in between. I know I'm leaving a few people out. To Neil Bogart, to all the people at Mercury and Polygram and at Universal now, for continuing to release box sets and content and really allowing me to have these moments where I get these items and these things that bring me joy and happiness, coupled with the memories that I have of seeing them, of the family members and friends that I got to share and make these moments with. I don't think there's a part of me that's ready to accept the fact that it's really over in the terms that I know it. And I also know that I'm going to have a difficult time accepting whatever iteration that they try next. But I am open to it, and I'm hoping to get new music out of it too, if that ever comes to be. But if not, it was 50 years of blood, sweat, tears, hard work, inspirationally hard work, actually, because I look at Gene and Paul and their work ethic and what they've put into their careers. And now, as a man, it is something I hope and wish to emulate in my pursuits as a person. It's dangerous to look to celebrities as role models or heroes because there's so much space between you and them. But it's okay to look to them, I think, as examples. And do I want to emulate everything about their life and their lifestyles? No. But their hard work and their determination to their craft and to giving people what their money's worth for the product that they put out is certainly something that I aspire to do in my pursuits. And I ended this with this sentiment when I was talking about AC/DC, but it applies to KISS as well. I am extraordinarily proud to be a KISS fan. I'm proud of the joy that it's brought me. I'm happy to be able to talk about the memories that I've made with not only my family, but some friends and the friends that I've made through liking the band and the people I've got to meet at KISS concerts and at record shows and the like. I think it's important that we as a community of people, just because the band stops, don't let that fire go out. and we should continue to support the entities that allow the conversation and the memory making to continue in whatever iteration that is. Because at the end of the day, while we have to spend money to get something out of it, we do profit from it on another level. And yeah, wrapping it up, I'm proud. I'm very, 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 very proud, and super fortunate that my life is worked out in a way that I had an opportunity to go last night. And I will never, ever, ever forget their music, the show, how happy I was when I was a little kid. And I was 10 years old when I got to see them in Worcester, Mass. The first time. And my whole life to that point as a music fan, I remember drawing their pictures before they reunited, and there was always these like sort of rumblings and rumors that I would hear probably third, fourth, fifth hand. And I would always bug my dad and my uncle. I'd be like, because they're huge Kiss fans too. Like, do you think they're going to get back together? Do you think they're going to put the makeup back on? And then it happened. And it was like walking into the Worcester Centrum when I saw them the first time was one of those wish come true moments. It was, I remember just the elation and the joy that I felt as a little kid. It sucks that it's over, but it happened. And for those of us that were lucky enough to be there, I hope you come away from the experience feeling fulfilled and gratified, because and satisfied. Sorry. It's over, but yeah. Thank you for tuning in. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment. I'd love to know about the times you've seen Kiss, who was playing, where you saw them, what lineup of the band was your favorite. There'll be more Kiss content to come on this channel for sure. In fact, the next video I had planned to do and still plan to do is about Kiss. So there's a little teaser for what's next. It's not going to be a ranking video though. It's going to be a deep dive into one album, and it's a lot easier to listen to one album and formulate thoughts about one album than it was to do an entire discography for my first video. So, forgive my emotional reaction. I was not expecting that, but it just hit me. Yeah. What a ride. So thank you for tuning in, and that's that. We'll catch you next time.